My name is Bill Siller. I'm the supervisor of the PPS Academy. So one of the big things that we're going to be going through, my department anyway, is we're going to be creating documentation and also materials to help you guys get up on meaningful use on your own. So that's one of the things that my department's doing. So this is what we're going to be going through in today's presentation. We're going to be going through stage one, all of the requirements for stage one with the core objectives and the menu items. We're going to be talking about how that's captured in the system, how it's calculated. So the calculation we're going to be going through on every measure. We're going to be talking about the numerator, the denominator, if that is the case. So if there's a certain percentage of patients that you have to report on with these things, we're going to be talking about what that numerator and denominator is. Also, you're going to hear me say the word attestation. What attestation means is if you're doing it or if you're not doing it. So it's just a yes or a no. And then the last thing is the reporting process, how you're actually going to get that information out of your system and you're going to take that to the government. So those are the big things we're going to be talking about. One of the things that came out in the prior presentation was someone asked, I think it was you asked about 9.5, if we have to go to 9.5 or the next version of Medisoft Clinical. You will need to upgrade to that version because some of the things that are in the current version of the system are not met for the stimulus. So that's one of the things that we're going to be going through, and we're going to see what you can do now and what are things that you're going to have to do in 9.5. So we'll be talking about those different requirements, and I have screenshots of 9.5 so you can kind of see what that user interface looks like. Also, there's going to be some changes in provider workflow to meet the requirements. We'll be talking about those as well. So basically what we're saying right here is that we're going through with Practice Partner and Medisoft Clinical, Lytec MD, and we're getting those certified. We just met CCHIT, and that's the last time I'm going to say that before I get in trouble saying it, because I'll misspeak, I swear. So we got certified with CCHIT last week. We're going forward, and we're going to be certified on the Meaningful Use Committee with everything on that. So we're going to be providing you the tools to become certified for that so that you guys can get your money. The one thing that we want to really strike home with you guys is that there are some workflow changes that you guys are going to have to recognize. So you're going to have to understand that there's nothing we can really do with that. We're going to certify the product. Some of the things that you're going to have to do is make sure that your workflow is capturing all of that data in your system. So this is kind of how the agenda is going to work today. So we're going to just have a really quick overview. This is really just kind of showing the highlights of Tammy's presentation. The next thing we're going to go through is the core objectives. So these are all 15 of the things that you have to have in the system. Then we'll be talking about the menu requirements. So that's the 5 out of the 10 that you have to pick. So when we're going through this, just so that you're planning ahead and making sure that your system's good right now, when we're going through those menu requirements, just kind of be looking, saying, oh, we can do this now, we can do this, this would be an easy one. That's where you want to really pick and make sure that going forward that you have those set aside. The last thing that we have there is action items. That's where we're going to be talking about things that you can do right now to make sure that you're good to go with the system when we roll out the next version of the EHR. So I'm not going to dive too deep into this because we're going to be going through each one of the objectives and each one of the menu items really deeply here. So just to kind of overview, there's 15 core objectives. They're not optional. You have to go through each one of those and you have to make sure that you have that. Now, exceptions will be made if you are a specialty that one of these objectives does not match. You can get out of that. So is anybody different than a primary care specialty in here? What's a specialty? Spine. I need to talk to you. I got some problems back there. What do we got back here?
Proctologist and gynecologist.
Luckily, I don't have to talk to you, so we're good. You just set me up there. I loved it. You got that on tape? Okay, good. So the other thing, so if you find some things in the specialty that really don't match those, there's ways to get out of those things. And I'll have a couple of examples while we're going through this. 10 menu objectives here. So with the menu objectives, once again, you get to pick 5 out of those 10, and 1 out of those 5 must be focused on the improving of the population health. So either the population reports or doing the immunization reports. And we'll be talking a little bit more about those probably hour 3. Here's kind of how the presentation is going to roll. We're going to have an objective. So every objective, we're going to talk just generically what it's going for. Then we're going to talk about the measure, so what they're trying to measure there. What's the numerator, what's the denominator? And then we're going to show you examples of the measures so that you get an idea of what they're trying to go for here. So here's the current status of meaningful use and being certified for it. So about half of the criteria right now is met in 932, 933, or 94 of Practice Partner. So if you're on the current version of Medisoft Clinical, half of those things are already met in this version. So you're good to go on that. All the remaining stuff is going to be covered in 9.5. So I'll be showing you on the next couple of slides here what things are met and what things are not met. Some of the other things may require just a little bit of engineering efforts on our part just to get those things fine-tuned when we go through the certification process here. And then the last thing here is that there's going to be reporting capabilities to get that information that you're capturing in your system out of there. So we're going to be talking about that too, on how you can do those reporting things. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the reporting mechanism. So you're capturing all this data. How are you going to get it out of there so that you can show everybody that you're doing what you need to do to get that money? So there's going to be a new user interface to this reporting. You can select the items for reporting date. And when we're going through each one of these objectives, you're going to see that you're going to be able to put in your time period of when you want to select that data. You can specify which provider to report on, because remember, this is by provider, it's not by practice. So you get to pick the time, the providers, and then it's also going to contain canned reports for all the required elements. So this is what it's going to look like. Basically what we have here, and let me see if you guys you see my little red dot here? Cool. Up here, this is where you're going to be able to pick your providers, so you can have all providers, providers affiliated with practice or specific. Here's your reporting date. And then each one of these checkboxes is one of the core objectives, so that you can pick and choose which one of those that you're going to be using, and you can send that out of your system. There's also a print to file, so if you want to print that to a file for some reason, you can do that as well. So you can see that that's how that's going to be set up in the system. So one of the things that Tammy mentioned is that this first go-around is going to be more at a station where you're going to be going to the internet and you're going to be plugging that in. So this might not be used at first just because the government agencies might not be ready to handle it yet. We're good to go so that when that comes around in 2012, you guys are going to be set to go with sending this out electronically. So here's some of the customer requirements. So there's going to be some workflows that we're going to be talking about today that you're going to have to meet in order for you to meet meaningful use. The other things that you're going to be required is you're going to have to have a patient record system, of course. Order entry is going to be a required item. So if you don't have that, that might be one of the items that you want to go through now. The Academy has videos that you guys can go into, and you can learn how to use the order entry, and you can also learn how to actually configure it on your own. Electronic prescribing. Anybody do electronic prescribing in here? Okay, a little bit more than half. Good, that's good. That's another thing that's going to be a very key objective in that one. So if you're not on e-prescribing yet, that's one of the things you're going to want to do. Clinical tools. Clinical tools is where it updates your system for drug formularies and drug allergy checks, things like that. So if you don't have a subscription, not a prescription, you're going to want to get that, because that meets 2 of the items in the system. Also, does anybody have WebView? We have a couple of people here. Cool. That's going to be one of the menu items in the system. So there's one menu item for you right there. And then we'll be talking about some of the meaningful use service options. And the service options are just these videos that we have. Also, our services team is going to have some ability where they can come out and they can actually take a look at your practice. They can see if there's any gaps where you might not meet meaningful use. So that's one of the options that you could also take too, is having one of our service members come out, take a look at your system, and they can either configure it for you or they can just tell you what items that you have to do to meet it. So that's one of the options that we were talking about there.